Hello everyone, today I bring you a very interesting manhwa. I hope you like it. Now let's go to the video. The story begins with several thunderstorms over the sect. The smiling protagonist says that they did well to block this last blow. However, he states that there will be no obstacles in his ascension to immortality. Soon, he affirms that from this point on, he will enter the land of the immortals and obtain his immortality. A beautiful maiden on a platform of petals says, "At the lowest depth of the underworld, the fire of the spirit, messenger of light, a drop to reach 1,000 miles, a cut to reach the heart, the ascended talisman without delay, follow your order." Then she conjures her divine thunder technique upon him. The powerful force falls upon him, making him kneel. Pointing her blade at him, she says that he insists on trying to defeat her master. Clenching his teeth, he states how she dares to interrupt the ceremony of his ascension. Then he asks if she really does not believe that he would kill her, and if she truly trusts her power to dominate him. Soon, he begins to gather his strength in his hand, but he did not expect a surprise attack from another person, who strikes his chest. The girl who hit him with her hand mocks his pathetic expression and questions how he could humiliate her master in this way. Then she tells her sister that, even though her master has committed thousands of sins, they should let him leave this world with dignity. He is frustrated by this surprise attack. Still frustrated, he comments to them that he never treated them unfairly for years. He never thought they would betray him in this way. Furious, he says that since it will be this way, he plans to take them with him. Then, releasing a strong energy over the ground, an enormous golden object with Japanese words descends from the sky to stop him. This treasure is called the copper coin, an extremely valuable treasure. After falling from the sky, this treasure lands on him, restraining him. Upon receiving the treasure's blow, he realizes that another person has betrayed him. Zhuer, also an acquaintance of his. Seeing that they all betrayed him, he questions where the rest of his disciples are, who likely also betrayed him. Then, from the shadows, his remaining disciples emerge, revealing themselves to their master. While everyone thought he would show regret, he starts laughing. After laughing in a way that demonstrates his madness, he asks how they dare to truly look down on him. Clasping his hands, he says that no matter what they planned, if they wish to take his life, they will have to try. Then, once again, he begins to release an overwhelming energy that takes the enormous form of an asura engulfed in flames. He could be seen throughout the entire sect due to his size. Soon, he unleashes his infernal wrath against all his disciples. His disciples are surprised by the strength he has shown. They also realize that he is planning to self-destruct. His disciples, seeing that there was no way to escape his destructive attack, beg their master for mercy. However, without pity, he self-destructs, devastating a part of the world. After this, suddenly, he awakens frightened and questions whether he is truly safe. Then he begins to orient himself by looking around until, looking out the window, he realizes that where he is infested with zombies. Being almost immortal, he quickly realizes that he has finally been reborn. Soon, he begins to wonder why his disciples thought of killing him and what they would gain from it. Whatever it is, the only way to get answers is to train this new body to the maximum. He then intends that when he returns to his mortal world one day, he will make sure to teach them a lesson. He sits on the ground to meditate. In his current state, he needs to progress as quickly as possible to return to his normal form. Meditating, he begins to check his spiritual power. However, he is surprised that he cannot detect it. Then he thinks that perhaps the aptitude of this body is so poor. Furious, he wonders if maybe this body does not have spiritual energy. Without spiritual power, there is no way to cultivate. And without cultivating, surviving in this world will be extremely difficult. The people the protagonist had seen fleeing from the zombies earlier enter a room where the protagonist is staying. The girl is in shock because she almost died. However, the boy, without caring about her situation, grabs her by the waist, and starts taking off her clothes with ulterior motives. She seems to have forgotten what she just went through and also starts wanting to enjoy the moment. But when they were about to continue their play, suddenly, the boy's face starts to deform entirely, his flesh rotting in an instant, and he quickly turns into a zombie on top of the girl. When she realizes it, she starts kicking him away from her until she finds an opening to escape. She begins screaming for help. The protagonist hears the girl's screams. Checking his memories, he discovers that the voice of this girl belongs to his girlfriend or his lover, making the protagonist feel disgusted that people close to him also betrayed him. When he opens the door, he comes across the boy the girl was cheating on him with, devouring her right in front of him. The girl cries for help while the protagonist only watches her despair, making her fall into complete desperation as she is devoured. She screams the protagonist's name, showing that he has no mercy for those who betray him. She even curses the protagonist. However, he closes the door, leaving her to die. Instead of feeling guilty, he actually feels great. After this, he starts planning a way to escape from there. If he dies there, he will never be able to return to his past life. Then, he sits again to meditate so he can do his best. He begins to check his sea of consciousness to try to recover something that might help him regain his strength. However, with the cultivation level of this current body of the protagonist, there is no way he can consider high-level magical weapons. Then, he thinks of waiting for the opportunity and hoping for the best result. Soon, he pulls from his consciousness a low-level magical weapon called the Banner of 10,000 Souls. However, the protagonist does not seem very pleased with this weapon he obtained. Throwing it to the ground furiously, he questions whether he could not have gotten a high-level weapon. He could at least have something useful. But suddenly, in his mind, a voice says that it has been detected that the host has obtained a magical weapon called the Banner of 10,000 Souls. The host is now linked to the 10,000 Souls banner system. He observes the window in front of him. Without surprise, he thinks that the function of the banner is to collect souls. It can collect the souls of the dead and convert them into soul power for the host. The higher the level of the 10,000 Souls banner, the stronger the soul it can collect and the more spiritual power for the host. The system explains that the soul of a dead person will last 5 minutes before it disappears. Smiling at this function and alternative way of becoming stronger, the protagonist becomes excited. As with zombies, there will be no shortage of materials to obtain spiritual power. Soon, the two who were at the door next to him and turned into zombies start banging on the protagonist's door, who decides to check. After opening, he decides to help them with the banner. He pierces the heads of both simultaneously, absorbing their souls. After they die, the creatures make a horrendous noise while perishing. However, the banner grants an advancement to the protagonist. The system says that his current realm is the spiritual sea realm of 10,000 souls, and that he can currently control 2 souls. Some people are being surrounded by some zombies. The protagonist walks among the group that is fleeing from the zombies. While the others run, he walks, thinking about how weak his body is. He thinks about finding some supplies to also improve the standard of 10,000 souls. The zombies attacking people even make those who seemed nice show their true face when their lives are at risk. And when this person throws another away, it catches the protagonist's attention, who immediately looks at the lady's appearance, which strongly resembled Lin Wang-Qiu, making even the protagonist wonder why she is there. Automatically, he summons the standard as quickly as possible, wanting to take revenge on his disciple. He throws the standard at her, but then he decides not to hit her and instead targets the zombie that was about to attack her, knocking it back a little. He runs at full speed, catching the standard in the air, and uses the blade at the tip to cut the zombie, piercing its chest. He saves her. Kneeling, she is surprised to be saved and starts wondering who this man who saved her is. The protagonist mocks her, saying that she used her thunder technique and, in the end, ended up reduced to this miserable state. However, Now she is in a weakened state before a mere zombie. He says that her master is very disappointed in her. She apparently has no previous memories, making her question what he is saying and how he knows her name if she has never seen him before. She stands up and thanks him for saving her life, then asks if she has seen him somewhere before. The protagonist observes and asks if she is trying to escape her downfall by pretending to be crazy. He points the standard at her. Confused, calling him "Sir," she says that this is not the right moment to act as if they were in a dramatic play. She says that there could be more monsters like this one there, and she thinks about leaving as quickly as possible. While observing, the protagonist wonders if he might have been mistaken. Perhaps she is not the Lin Wang-kyu he knows. However, he quickly dismisses this idea, thinking it would be impossible. The woman in front of him is exactly that traitor. He would never make a mistake unless that traitor had lost her memory after coming to this world. He raises his hand and thinks about verifying it, but before he touches her, his stomach starts growling. She notices and begins laughing. With great respect, she says that if he does not mind, they can go to the large shopping center. It is not far. There, they can receive supplies, as well as stay safe. The protagonist immediately thinks that this makes sense. He considers accompanying her to see for himself. She immediately grabs his hand and starts pulling him, saying that the sooner they arrive, the more supplies they can take. The protagonist finds it suspicious but decides to follow along for now, trying to discover whether she truly lost her memories or is acting. However, regardless of whether she is acting or not, she was indeed the person who betrayed him. That will never change. He thinks that he will make her pay the price for it. Soon, they finally arrive at their destination to collect supplies. She stops and says she forgot something important, asking his name. The protagonist thinks that maybe she really is not pretending, since she is asking for his name. He looks around, and then they enter the place to hide until the rescue arrives. However, they realize that several zombies are eating the refugees who were there. Lin despairs, unable to believe what is happening and why there are so many monsters there. Suddenly, a different monster appears, repeating a phrase, asking for a 50% discount. This monster seems to be on a different level from the other zombies, even cutting down its own kind without any mercy. Watching, the protagonist comments that it is an elemental, a different and stronger monster. Lin, beside him and scared, says that this place is no longer safe. She asks to leave as soon as possible. However, the protagonist thinks differently, summoning his standard to fight the elemental monster. It is all he needs to reach level 2 of his 10,000 soul standard. He throws his weapon into the air, intending to use his new ability. As his weapon spins in the air, suddenly, 2 zombies emerge from it, turning into his puppets. The zombies he summoned are the ones he previously defeated. With this, he orders them to attack the zombies that were separated from the strongest one. His zombies, showing great agility, manage to defeat the weaker zombies easily. However, when the elemental zombie appears, the protagonist quickly acts, making his summons return as fast as possible. The elemental mercilessly slashes through the weaker zombies. The protagonist feels pity because the zombies he just killed were supposed to serve his standard. So, he intends to act as quickly as possible because his spiritual power is not abundant. The longer the battle lasts, the higher his chances of losing. He quickly crosses his fingers and begins controlling his puppets against the elemental creature. However, the creature easily defeats his first puppet with a simple attack. But with the opening created by the first puppet, he uses his second one to latch onto it. Seizing the opportunity, his puppet lands a bite on its neck, ripping a piece off the elemental monster, which roared in pain and collapsed to the ground. Finally knocked out, he immediately approached the creature and began using his abilities to absorb the elemental creature's soul. Soon, his banner released its chains against the elemental monster, binding it and forcing it to submit to the protagonist. After the absorption was successfully completed, The system congratulated him for killing the low-level zombie and upgraded his banner to the second level, increasing its ability to control 5 creatures simultaneously. The system then specified that to evolve to level 3, he needed to hunt a level 3 zombie. After reading what the system had stated, the protagonist thought that this meant he would have to face much more powerful monsters. However, he realized that his cultivation level was not much higher than the Sea Realm level. Upon seeing that he had managed to defeat the creature, Lin happily approached the protagonist, saying that at first she thought he was crazy for acting the way he did. Soon after, some people appeared. Others commented that now that the monsters had been eliminated, they could resume distributing supplies. Several citizens began to emerge after seeing that the area was safe. Some started considering waiting for rescue. Lin was surprised by the amount of supplies available, but before anyone could touch them, some extras appeared, asking who they were and whether they were unaware of the rules of the place. One of them claimed that since this was their territory, why would they dare to take the supplies? Other extras around them echoed the same sentiment. They even had the audacity to say that they were the ones who had managed to save those supplies from the monsters, and that they would be the ones to enjoy them. Furious, Lin asked how they dared to say that when it was the protagonist who had saved them. One of the extras questioned how it was him and mocked his stature, calling it a joke, saying that there was no way he could have defeated those monsters alone. He admitted that it was fine to take something, but she should at least have the decency to share some credit and feel ashamed. Unable to believe what they were saying, she called them bastards. The protagonist, placing a hand on her shoulder, told her to calm down and commented that it was fine. Since ancient times, money has attracted people's hearts. However, they should know that benefits cannot be gained simply by relying on words. With a tearful expression, Lin said that it was unfair, that he had defeated those monsters, and now these people were getting a free deal while also mocking them. The protagonist released his aura and stated that only the weak were truly rational, but strength was the real truth. Taking a step forward, he declared that he would take the supplies now and questioned who was in favor and who was against it. Some fools opposed him, even threatening the protagonist, believing their numbers gave them an advantage. Confident that they could stand against him, the protagonist immediately sent them to hell, summoning his elemental zombie and declaring that all the supplies would be his. Just by the presence of the monster, the extras were struck with shock and immense fear. Some, overwhelmed with terror, even pleaded for mercy. However, showing no pity, he had his creature tear them apart instantly. For the ones who remained, he questioned again whether anyone would oppose him. Their reaction was clear. They began to obey and fell silent. He then told Lin to take whatever she wanted. Determined that she was doing the right thing, she took the lead and began collecting the supplies, while the protagonist retrieved his zombie. As she selected the supplies, Lin asked if he wasn't going to take anything for himself. Smiling, the protagonist replied that he had saved her life and asked whether, if he requested her to carry some supplies for him, she would be willing to do so. Under normal circumstances, the old Lin would have never accepted such a request. This question was designed to reveal Lin's true nature. However, what the protagonist didn't expect was for her to accept so easily. Without hesitation, she picked up a backpack and started packing supplies into it. Slightly frustrated, the protagonist remarked that perhaps her appearance was really just a coincidence. After filling the backpack, she said it was all set and asked if they should stay there until the rescue arrived. The protagonist stated that he was going to hunt stronger zombies and that she needed to carry the supplies. She agreed and began following him on this adventure. As soon as he turned his back, the extras began cursing the protagonist. Some even planned to report him to the authorities as soon as the rescue team arrived. However, they soon remembered the remaining supplies and started fighting over them. What they didn't expect was that the protagonist had left some of his other summons behind, knowing they would argue over the leftovers, demonstrating that he truly understood human nature. The extras fight over the contents of the supply boxes. They fight tirelessly for supplies, demonstrating the true nature of human beings. An angry man claims to have taken the materials first. The man who is held to the old man is amazed to look behind the old man who is holding him. A close-up of the old man's eyes, which are wide open, showing clear terror. He falls to the ground in total terror and shaking. The old man is shocked and outraged, asking how this is possible and why this is still happening. Soon everyone runs in despair and anguish for their lives, which are hanging by a thread, because those creatures have returned to torment them. Just like a blade, they are both cut, leaving only screams of horror to escape from the warehouse. A crying woman laments who can save them now, while expressing her fear of dying, but she is already practically lifeless. The monster, with his evil smile, steps on the woman who is crying out to stay alive. After stepping on its head, it explodes with blood everywhere. The protagonist walks through the destroyed city, emitting his bright green energy, while holding his staff. He claims that nipping problems in the bud will cause fewer problems later. He also says that he can now only control 3 zombies at the same time. The excited blonde woman shouts. However, he ignores it because he thinks he can only avoid threats temporarily and needs to keep a low profile until he levels up. The blonde woman calls him Lord Sube and comments that he should wait for her. She repeats in a pleading tone. The protagonist says he is busy and has no time to waste on her, threatens to leave her if she wastes time again. The blonde woman thinks that Lord Sube would never abandon her. The protagonist smiles, he just says oh. The protagonist questions the blonde woman's trust. He argues that they are not relatives or friends, so why would he abandon her? The woman asks where the powerful zombie the man is looking for is. The protagonist shows surprise at the woman's question. The woman asks if he knows the whereabouts of advanced zombies, and explains that he didn't stay at the school because of a monster near the artificial lake that gives off a special smell. The woman thinks she doesn't know which monster he's looking for, but he looks dangerous. The protagonist thinks to himself whether the dangerous type is a mutant beast and that, if so, it is necessary to investigate. He tells the woman to guide him, as she seems to have some valuable information. He tells the woman not to walk in front of him and that he will show the zombie the way. The scene shows a group of zombies. The woman looks at something while he follows her. He asks what the woman's intention is in constantly walking and stopping. The girl asks the protagonist to be quiet, as many people at school have turned into monsters, and it is difficult to deal with them if he accidentally provokes them. The protagonist says that the monsters aren't that much of a problem, and that he doesn't have much time to waste. He thrusts his spear into the ground hard. The protagonist orders others to eliminate obstacles, then his summons run towards them. The girl comments on the protagonist's strength, questioning how dominant he is. The monsters are defeated, with blood and bodies scattered across the ground. The protagonist thinks about what happened to the world and why so many people became monsters. He notes that there are still living people nearby. The girl is surprised by a familiar voice. 3 men fight a crowd of zombies, shouting at them to get out of the way. A zombie attacks the young man who repels him with a bat. The zombie growls. The young man fights other zombies, screaming for him to go to hell. There are other zombies around. The young man hits the zombie with the bat. Several young people fight against a zombie, using sticks to hit it. A zombie jumps at the young people. The young man shouts a warning. The zombie ties up one of the young men, who gets into a physical fight with the zombie. One of the young people kills the zombie. Another young man orders an immediate retreat, as the monsters are many. One of them ponders the impossibility of fighting them. The girl is worried about the presence of Guming and Li Mingong in that place. The protagonist says he knows one of the two, as he is a classmate at school. The protagonist expresses surprise and asks if she expected him to save the others. There is a tone of challenge in the question. She holds the protagonist's hand tightly. She pulls him away, saying they need to go quickly before the monsters find them. The rush and danger are evident. The protagonist wonders if she won't save her classmates. The question implies that he should help. He asks for help, but the man says he cannot allow himself to be put in danger, even if he can help them under certain conditions. The protagonist says that the words could never have been spoken by someone who betrayed him, and that the woman appears to be just a normal girl. The zombie's body shouts someone's name, Lin Wankyu. They beg for help, saying they can't stand it alone anymore and need her help. He says he is dragging them into a dangerous situation. His anger and frustration are clear. The group of zombies are in the school yard, while they are at a safe distance. The group of zombies attacks the extras. The woman is terrified. She asks if the zombies are coming towards them. The woman is desperate and apologizes. She says it was all her fault and apologizes. The protagonist tells her to take a step back. The protagonist claims that the demon king of the 9 Netherlands himself was murdered. He confronts the dead creatures, calling them disgusting. He questions whether these enemies are worthy of him to kill. The protagonist orders his zombies to kill. Your zombies attack others in a brutal way. The fight continues. The group of zombies surround and riot over the prota's creatures. But zombies emerge. A system message indicates that there are 2 manipulable corpses. The protagonist expresses his irritation with a tiatsk. He says that dealing with 10 zombies at the same time is their limit and that they need to find a way to fend them off to survive. She asks the protagonist if he can do something. He calls her by name and she says she needs help. The protagonist says he will drive away the zombies if the woman finds something that makes a lot of noise. The woman thinks of something that makes a lot of noise. She shows him a cell phone and asks if it is used to make noise. He shows surprise. The protagonist looks at his cell phone, saying, "Let's see." Soon they press the play button. Soon the phone starts playing super loud music by Pablo Vittar. The crowd of zombies follows them in the direction of the music. The protagonist's zombie reappears again, attacking the smaller zombies. He holds the cell phone. The woman is scared as zombies approach. The protagonist says, "What a great magic weapon." And when all the zombies come together, he throws the cell phone away. Several zombie hands reach up because of the phone that is flying. While the cell phone flies, the protagonist's creature catches it in the air. The protagonist with his staff in hand shouts, "Come on." He fights several zombies using his chain gun. He holds his staff against the crowd. The woman appears shocked, expressing surprise and disbelief with the phrase, seriously, is it working? The protagonist holds her hand tightly. He tells the woman to leave. She begs him to slow down. Shows the building where they are going. The woman sits strongly on the floor. The woman is lying on the floor, panting. He thanks her for her help and says she couldn't have gotten there without her. She says it's okay, and that she will help her find advanced zombies to save their lives. 3 men suddenly appear from a door. A man claims that everyone was saved thanks to something that happened. Otherwise, he would have to explain why he couldn't protect them. A man looks at her with her backpack. He calls her by name and says he's glad she was saved. Spotting the girl, one of the guys asks if Lin Wangqiu has returned with supplies. Another colleague celebrates, saying that they are now safe. Opening Lin Wangqiu's backpack, the boys are surprised by the amount of items. One of them comments that there really is a lot of stuff in there. Annoyed, she stops the students from picking up things and explains that it was Subai who got the supplies. Therefore, you do not have the right to distribute them. With an irritated expression, the boy questions her logic. He argues that it makes no sense to divide between mine and yours. Now, he insists that she deliver the supplies quickly because other students need them. Trying to calm the situation, another student asks them to stop arguing. He mentions that the place is not safe. He suggests going back to the classroom to think about distribution. The same student then invites Subai to join them. After all, he comments that unity is strength. The group then starts moving towards the room. Following the school corridor, the group advances together. Subai and Lin Wangqiu stay a little behind. Walking alongside the protagonist, Lin Wangqiu apologizes for what happened. She assures him that she won't let anyone take his supplies. Subai replies that everything is fine. Your only objective is to find the advanced zombie. She asks how he ensures the others will obey him. Confidently, Lin Wangqiu tells Subai not to worry. She mentions that there are many teachers among the survivors, so the other students wouldn't dare to cause trouble. Snickering, Subai seems to doubt her confidence. Next to him, the girl just smiles slightly. Walking a little further ahead, the student who argued earlier mumbles. He says they better not dare. After all, he clearly saw that the backpack was full of food. Thoughtfully, the same boy calculates that with those supplies, they could survive for at least a month, enough time for rescue to arrive. Another whispering wonders if Lin Wangqiu would agree to his plans, and also questions what Subai is up to. The bespectacled student, who previously seemed appeasing, adjusts his glasses with a mischievous smile. He says, "I'm entering their territory." The bespectacled student believes that now they cannot refuse. If they cooperate, perhaps they will receive something, otherwise things could get complicated. Arriving at the door of room 108, Le Mingxuan tells him it's him. and that they're back with supplies. A teacher with glasses quickly opens the door, relieved. She thanks God that they are back and anxiously asks where the supplies are. Entering the classroom, the group comes across the other survivors. All eyes turn to them and Lin Wonkyu's backpack. Subai observes the survivors in the room. He wonders how they have survived until now. It seems like the zombies haven't appeared a long time ago. The teacher asks Lin Wonkyu to distribute the supplies quickly. One survivor comments that they haven't eaten in 3 days. Somewhat reluctantly, Lin Wonkyu agrees to share. Bending over the backpack, Lin Wonkyu tells him that he will only give half of the supplies. The other half belongs to Subai, so they can't touch it. One of the survivors questions why Subai would need so many supplies. He then offers to pay for the food. The boy insists that he will pay 10 times the market price. He directly asks Subai if he minds. With a slight smile, Subai replies that he has no objections. Satisfied, the survivor praises Subai, calling him smart. He approaches the backpack to get the supplies, saying, "Let's see." Suddenly, the boy's face shows pure shock. Something seems to have stopped him abruptly. Subai intervenes with his weapon, forcing the student to retreat. Behind him, a sinister figure appears as he states that it actually does matter. The sinister creature appears, causing total panic in the room. The survivors scream in despair, asking where the monster came from. One of them points out that it's Li Mingxuan's fault for bringing him. Subai quickly approaches the frightened student. With his skull weapon, he pressures the boy and asks if he is responsible. Grabbing his collar, Subai coldly accuses him, "You eliminated 2 of my undead and still wanted my supplies." The student stutters, asking to please talk. Out of patience, Subai throws the student hard. He flies backwards, falling to the living room floor. Approaching, the protagonist steps on the chest of the fallen boy. The survivor screams in pain and fear from the pressure. Looking down from above, Subai questions with a threatening tone, "Tell me, should I end you right now? Or maybe take your soul to make up for my loss?" Desperate, the student on the floor begs his friends, "Zhang Hao Guming, help me ask for mercy," and says they came up with that plan together. The other colleagues quickly place all the blame on him. "Mr. Subai, it was all Li Mingxuan's idea. We didn't know." They ask to be released because they are irrelevant. Li Mingxuan faces his former companions completely betrayed. He shouts that he fought for the supplies for them. Now they treated him that way, abandoning him there. Seeing that he would have no help, he turned to Lin Wonkyu. "Please help me, I was wrong, I don't want anything else." He begs for forgiveness while Subai watches him coldly. Coldly watching Subai wonder what Lin Wonkyu would do. He questions whether the ruthless girl would act. Lin Wonkyu sighs heavily for a moment. She seems to be considering the situation complicated. Kneeling down, she asks Subai to forgive Li Mingxuan. For everyone's sake, she offers her own share of the supplies. Subai notices that her nature doesn't seem to match. Maybe she only resembles the other person superficially. In this case, he thinks he no longer needs to keep her around. The protagonist lifts his foot once again over the fallen student. The intention to finish the boy is clear. Declaring the end of the agreement, Subai prepares to leave. He says that Lin Wonkyu has found his companions, and it is time to say goodbye. Your next mission is to find the advanced zombie. Lin Wonkyu quickly grabs his arm to stop him. She desperately asks for a minute. The girl claims that she might know where the monster is. Surprised, Subai turns to her. The protagonist asks if she saw the creature. She denies seeing it but felt something strange at school. The aura this thing emitted left her terrified. Lin Wonkyu admits that he doesn't know if he is the advanced zombie. Subai considers this new information carefully. Subai then remembers the innate spiritual physique, a special body that can sense spiritual power. Surprised, he thinks if this woman, it's really that person from the past. The scene changes to the original world of immortality, a mountainous and energetic place. There we see Wonkyu approaching his master. She claims to have found what he wanted. The master hands her a peculiar item. It looks like a root or a special type of plant. Holding the item, the man seems curious. He asks the girl to tell him how she found him. Placing her hands on her stomach, she concentrates. The young woman seems to gather her strength to explain. Kneeling, Wonkyu reveals his innate ability. She was born with the ability to track and capture shadows. Satisfied, the master finally accepts her. From that day onwards, she would be his second disciple. The girl humbly thanks for the chance. Wonkyu reinforces that his life belongs to his elders. Humbly, Wonkyu bows before his new master. The master touches the girl's chin. She seems surprised by the sudden gesture. He asks if she will still call him older. Stammering, the young woman responds by calling him master. Thinking he notices that she has lost her memory, Even so, he calls her to be stand of 10,000 souls. Back to the present, he extends his hand to Wonkyu. Su-bai orders her to become his servant and suffer eternally. The boy holds the girl's wrist tightly. Scared, Wonkyu holds Su-bai's hand. She warns that something terrible is coming and they need to leave soon. Surprised, Su-bai just stares at the girl in silence. A slight smile appears on the protagonist's face. The protagonist is laughing out loud. Wonkyu doesn't understand anything in the classroom. Su-bai thoughtfully notices the girl's rare spiritual body. It would be a waste to eliminate her now. Better to use her as a chess piece. When it loses its value, it becomes the banner of 10,000 souls. Suddenly, a monstrous greenish foot lands on the roof of the building. Up there, a bizarre lizard watches everything. The place seems to emanate spiritual power. Fortunately, those who don't have power don't become one of these things. Half human, half ghost. Crouching, the lizard monster appears ready to attack. He hopes not to be disappointed. Something hits the ground with force, creating a crack. Crossing the concrete, the giant lizard invades the place. Pieces of ceiling fly everywhere. Observing, Su-bai wonders if this is the creature Wonkyu mentioned. It would be a mutated serpent demon. Yet something feels strangely familiar to him. Below, chaos ensues with the giant monster. Students run around desperate and confused. Screams echo asking where the freak came from. Nobody wants to be left behind. Desperate, some students try to force a door. Cursing, they realize that it won't open. Inside the room, Wonkyu points to the creature. She warns Su-bai that she saw him earlier at the artificial lake. The girl confirms that the smell is identical. There is no mistake. Su-bai wonders how this thing has spiritual energy. It's definitely no ordinary mutant beast. Perhaps it is a monster from the world of immortality. He wonders how he got here. The creature comments that the place has no aura, yet it is full of worms that are neither human nor ghosts. However, the place is happier than the world of immortals. The freak grabs a student with its tail. The monster says that it can take advantage of humans at will. There are no immortal cultivators on the path. This snack will last for many days. Holding the human aloft, the creature prepares itself. The student screams desperately for help. He begs because he doesn't want to meet his creator. Desperately, a woman begs Su-bai. She calls him a colleague asking to save the student. As long as he doesn't take damage, she will do anything. The protagonist remains silent for a moment. He then questions what their life or passage has to do with him. The girl offers money, saying she can pay for the protection. Su-bai refuses, saying he is not interested in these things. But he warns them not to worry, because if they leave, he will take their souls. Hearing this, the lizard monster seems to react. A strange sound echoes around the place. Suddenly, the creature opens its eyes wide in surprise. A blurred figure quickly advances towards you. The figure hits the lizard monster's head squarely. The impact is strong and direct. With force, the lizard monster is thrown to the ground. The impact creates a small crater and scatters debris across the room. The mysterious figure lands on the back of the downed creature. Its long claws stand out in the dynamic pose. Standing on the lizard, we can better see the attacker. He seems to absorb something from the defeated monster beneath his feet. A close-up reveals the lizard's wide eye, surprise and shock written across his reptilian expression. By grabbing him, the reptile attacks him and demonstrates his superior strength. Lifting the lizard's inert body, the attacker displays it. Su-bai and Wonkyu watch the scene closely. The lizard monster thinks in surprise about the aura present. He confirms that he felt spiritual energy and did not expect cultivators there. Su-bai watches the new monster holding his spear. He assesses the creature as weak, but perhaps enough for something. The attacker then lunges at the lizard's head. With a quick movement, the lizard's body is thrown to the side. Turning to the creature, Su-bai questions if it came for him. His only option then would be to finish her off. Outside, the building shows signs of the battle. A trail of destruction cuts through the structure, indicating the force involved. Su-bai disdains the lizard level, calling it foundation stage trash. In the past, he wouldn't even bother attacking something like that. However, his current cultivation is only at the spiritual sea realm. Noticing the survivors, the creature clicks its tongue. They also have their uses for the monster. Collecting his souls and refining them will be enough for him to advance in level. Unfortunately, Su-bai admits to not being able to deal with the creature at the moment, so the survivors will have to fend for themselves. However, he offers an alternative if you are willing to join your banner of 10,000 souls to help you move forward. So perhaps there is a glimmer of hope for them. Of course, he also mentions that they can simply decline his offer. In that case, Su-bai could leave and no one would be able to stop him. However, The consequences would only be for the survivors. Their faces demonstrate fear and indecision when faced with the choice. Since no one seems willing to sacrifice themselves, Su-bai prepares to leave. However, Wang-kyu calls him by name, interrupting his exit. At that moment, the teacher grabs Wang-kyu's arm, stopping her. Teacher La holds Wang-kyu and says to leave it to her. The teacher asks Su-bai to take her students away from here. With her hand on her chest, the teacher touches a necklace. The pendant glows with a purple light. Su-bai's gaze widens in surprise. He recognizes the item as a spiritual stone. In a quick movement, Su-bai grabs the teacher's hand. He asks where she got that object. Professor Lai explains that it was something her father found by chance. This happened many years ago. Then she removes the necklace. She offers the necklace to Su-bai, saying he can have the item. In return, she only asks him to protect her students. Su-bai confirms that the item came from the immortal realm. Its quality is not low either. The spiritual power contained within it is comparable to a top-tier spiritual stone. Su-bai wonders how this item ended up in this world. This would mean that his rebirth and Lin Wangkyu's were no coincidence. If that is the case, then probably his other disciples are also in this world. Suddenly, a blue notification appears in front of the protagonist. The system has detected the spiritual stone's reaction and asks if he wants to use it. Using spiritual stones can enhance the 10,000 souls banner. This also benefits the host and increases the level of the undead by 1. Su-bai thinks he needs to get more of them. Accepting the item, Su-bai confirms that the deal is closed. He asks the girls to wait there and not run away. With an angry look, the snake monster manifests. He asks how dare Su-bai steal something that was his. The creature then goes up, calling Su-bai an immortal cultivator. The monster shouts that he will refine it in an instant. Calmly, Su-bai sits in a meditation position. He orders his summoned creature to protect him from the attack. In a blur, the creature summoned by Su-bai advances quickly. She positions herself to block the enemy's blow. A direct confrontation between the two creatures then takes place. The collision between the two beings is violent. Su-bai's lackey tries to contain the snake monster's advance. The snake monster easily stops the opponent's attack. He belittles the lackey by calling him a little thing. The snake monster lands a powerful blow on the minion. The summoned creature feels the impact. With a superior gaze, the serpent creature observes. Meanwhile, Su-bai meditates quietly. Your purple aura becomes stronger, surprising the enemy. The monster thinks he needs to end this quickly. Calling the minion a troublesome insect, the snake monster attacks again. With a scream of fury, the creature smashes the ground with its fist, hurting Su-bai's servant. The impact launches the minion into the newly formed crater. Victorious, the snake monster mocks, asking where the minion can run to now. Turning his attention to Su-bai, the monster advances, shouting that he will suffer the same fate. Stopping in front of the seated protagonist, the creature complains about the noise. With a dark face, Su-bai finally speaks. He says his banner of 10,000 souls needs a beast as a sacrifice. With a confident look, Su-bai points at the snake and confirms that she will be the sacrifice. Confused, the snake monster stares at Su-bai. The creature asks what is happening. Unexpectedly, a hand appears from behind. She grips the serpent's head tightly. Revealing his new form, the lackey holds the serpent. Now he is evolutionary class and Su-bai has reached the foundation realm. With a glare, Su-bai orders. He orders the minion to finish off the enemy. Obeying the order, the evolved creature attacks. A powerful punch hits the snake monster's back. Without mercy, the servant bites the enemy. A red broth begins to ooze from the wound. The minion then spins around and slams the monster into the ground. The impact opens a new crater at the site. Demonstrating its strength, the creature lifts the serpent. He prepares her for another devastating blow. With violence, the minion throws the enemy. The serpent crashes into the ground with a cracking sound. After the violent throw, the serpent is thrown far away. The monster breaks through debris with the force of the impact. Desperately, the monster tries to stop. The sharp claws dig into the edge of the structure. Hanging on the building, the enemy resists. Red marks show battle wounds. From above, the minion faces his opponent. The creature admits to having underestimated evolution during the fight. However, the serpent reveals that it has its cards up its sleeve. He asks if the footman thinks he wasn't prepared. With glowing eyes, he summons reinforcements. The monster calls his family to help him against the humans. On top of a destroyed building, the greenish monster screams for his family, summoning everyone to help him wipe out the humans. Quickly, some nearby humans are brutally shot in the chest. With a sinister smile, the traitor Le Mingxuan declares that he will obey the orders received. Shocked, The surrounding survivors shout that Li Mingxuan eliminated someone. They question the reason for their actions in confusion. Imposing, Li Mingxuan remains standing over two bodies lying on the ground, demonstrating his cruelty. Revealing your true nature, the villain claims that everyone is a bunch of trash, that he's tolerated them for too long and feels great about betraying them. Facing the terrified crowd, Li Mingxuan observes the fear in the eyes of his former companions. Without hesitation, the monster charges at the defenseless humans who beg for their lives. He laughs sadistically, stating that the pleasure of controlling their destiny is incredible and that today everyone will know the end. Fallen on the floor, the teacher watches the scene in disbelief. She wonders how the situation could get to this point. At that moment, Su Dai appears accompanied by the blonde. She promptly warns him that the traitor Li Mingxuan is present at the place. With a slight smile, Su Dai comments that the situation is quite interesting, because I didn't expect to see humans willingly becoming followers of monsters. In front of several inert bodies, Li Mingxuan continues his insane speech, ordering you to eliminate more, for in the end everyone will become puppets under his banner of 10,000 souls. Boldly, the teacher stands up and confronts Li Mingxuan, demanding that he stop immediately, and stating that he will not allow him to continue his reckless actions. With disdain, Li Mingxuan grabs her by the collar. He mocks her by saying that she doesn't know what's good for herself, wondering if she has that much desire to meet her end. Preparing for the final blow, the villain smiles devilishly at the defenseless woman, and he declares that he will gladly give you that taste. Li Mingxuan advances with his claws, ready for the final blow against the teacher. At that time, the blonde goes to the teacher, advising that she should calm everyone down, because now they can only trust Mr. Su Dai. Su Dai thinks to himself, others can go, but that woman cannot. He needs it to find another spiritual stone. Suddenly, a blue energy appears in Su Dai. He summons a spear with a skull on the tip, the banner of 10,000 souls. With a command from Su Dai, the banner releases its energy, hitting the transformed humans around who fall inert. Li Mingxuan watches the scene in amazement. He wonders what the hell that gun is. Su Dai faces the traitor, stating that he waited a long time for the boss to come. Now you don't have to worry anymore. With superior air, Li Mingxuan questions what Su Dai can do, since he no longer has the monster's protection. Su Dai demonstrates his complete disregard for the villain's trust. The banner souls rush at Li Mingxuan. He shouts asking why Su Dai wants to submit him. They invite you to join. The spectral figures grab Li Mingxuan. One ironizes. He wonders if they wouldn't be brothers forever, and now is the chance. Desperate, Li Mingxuan shouts to the souls. Ask if you haven't eliminated them. He orders them to leave, calling them wandering ghosts. With his face contorted in terror and pain, Li Mingxuan is overwhelmed by the vengeful souls. Observing the scene from afar, Su Dai remains calm, while Li Mingxuan shouts, "Damn you!" repeatedly. Surprisingly, the greenish monster appears. He questions what he sees, recognizing the banner of 10,000 souls. The green monster questions whether Su Dai really plans to use that kind of trash magic weapon against him. He still asks if Su Dai believes he is made of clay. Su Dai, surrounded by a blue aura and accompanied by his followers, counters the monster's comment. He claims that the creature still doesn't really know him. With a determined look, Su Dai declares that his banner of 10,000 souls still needs a spirit like that of the monster to serve as a sacrifice. Meanwhile, Li Mingxuan, in his altered form, desperately screams for help to his boss, the greenish monster. The green creature then reflects on his bad luck. He regrets meeting an immortality cultivator who turned out to be a demonic cultivator, finding it all very troublesome. Realizing that Su Dai has also reached the foundation building stage, the monster decides that the best thing to do is to escape. Otherwise, you will not obtain spiritual energy and will only get into more confusion. Clinging to the creature's leg, Li Mingxuan once again begs his boss to save him from the situation. Suddenly, the monster's gigantic hand grabs Li Mingxuan, who shows surprise at the unexpected action. Holding his subordinate, Li Mingxuan asks what the boss is doing. The monster responds that he gave him strength and now. The monster completes his sentence, stating that it is time for Li Mingxuan to help him. Then he throws the traitor towards Su Dai. Su Dai watches with cold calm as Li Mingxuan flies through the air towards him. The monster comments that the idea is difficult to control and that the wind is strong, justifying the throw. With a penetrating look, Su Dai looks at the creature and simply asks if it intends to leave. In a quick movement, Su Dai asks if he gave permission for the monster to leave. The banner then advances, hitting the creature squarely. Sudai's giant servant advances towards the green monster. The servant with its giant claws jumps towards the enemy. The servant then hits the monster with a powerful blow. The impact is so strong that it breaks the floor. The creature is thrown back violently. It passes through an entire building, causing a lot of destruction. Amidst the dust, the green monster finds himself trapped by shadowy tentacles. Sudai then says he caught him. Several humanoid figures, looking like statues, float around. They help to imprison the creature. Sudai's giant servant appears again, crushing the green monster against the ground. The creature appears immobilized. Watching from afar, one of Sudai's followers celebrates. She shouts that Sudai has finally captured the monster. The green monster, trapped, admits defeat for today. However, he warns Sudai not to think that this will be enough to stop him. With a challenging look, the creature tells Sudai to keep dreaming if he thinks he has captured him. The monster then reveals that, like golden cicadas, it can also shed its skin. He calls Sudai and his followers fools for not expecting this. Meanwhile, Lemingxuan, now looking decrepit, runs desperately. He shouts for his boss, the green monster, to wait for him, as he hasn't left yet. However, before he can get very far, Lemingxuan is intercepted. It looks like your escape won't be so easy. Sudai's followers surround Lemingxuan, questioning whether he really thought he could escape after everything he did. One of them declares that Lemingxuan's fate is sealed and orders them to eliminate him. Desperate, Lemingxuan shouts for them not to come any closer. He threatens to wipe them all out, whether he believes in his ability or not. From afar, the screams of Lemingxuan being beaten can be heard. One of the followers then asks Sudai if he is really going to let the creature escape, and if that is right. Sudai answers the question about letting the monster escape. He says she is overestimating him too much, questioning whether a mere serpent demon can escape his spiritual block. With a serious look, Sudai declares that it is time to end this charade. Meanwhile, the green creature begins to shed its skin, revealing a new form underneath. The monster, now in its new form, celebrates having escaped. He wonders where the hell Sudai, the evil cultivator, came from and if he was also dragged to that place. The creature then says that once it leaves there, the sky will be high for birds to fly. He finishes by stating that Sudai, a mere foundation stage immortal cultivator, will never meet him. With a surprised expression, the green monster questions whether what he just heard is serious. Sudai, surrounded by his entities, asks if the monster would like to try running. He challenges you to see if you can escape the reach of your spiritual consciousness. Shocked, the creature exclaims that this is not possible and asks how Sudai found him. He even questions how Sudai's spiritual awareness can be so strong, being only at the foundation stage. Sudai, with an uncomfortable expression, simply complains about how noisy the monster is. With his staff, Sudai orders his servants to capture the creature. Immediately, the humanoid servants advance, attacking the green monster from multiple angles. The creature is grabbed by the smaller ones, and then a giant claw crushes it against a wall. Sudai's giant servant delivers a powerful punch, sinking the monster even deeper into the structure. The creature screams in pain, bound by red ribbons as Sudai watches. He claims the monster's 7 inches is sealed and challenges it to move. Enraged, the green monster shouts that they are an arrogant bunch. He adds that since they don't want to give him an easy life, they can forget about it. Suddenly, toxic green smoke is spat by the creature towards your opponent. Sudai's servant blocks the monster's attack. Sudai just calmly watches from below. Laughing, the giant monster states that even with 10,000 souls, Sudai's body barely formed its foundation. He finishes by saying that if he devours him, his puppets will have no one to move them. Sudai, with a serious look, retorts that the monster doesn't know if it lives or if it's about to leave. Firmly, he grips his staff, ready for the next action. Using his staff, Sudai attacks the monster's snake form. The snake, with a shocked expression, wonders how that could be possible. In the creature's eye, Sudai's reflection appears. She thinks that her snake shadow clone is difficult to detect even for a Yuaning stage master and questions who Sudai is. Sudai comments that the monster is very noisy. He says that if it weren't for his mouth, he would still be of some use, and that he has already scared him enough. He then orders his banner to capture the creature's soul. From Sudai's staff, blue streams of spiritual energy quickly emerge. The serpent creature is wrapped in chains, screaming that it does not accept its fate. She declares that even if she leaves, she will never surrender. The monster's greenish soul begins to be extracted by the currents. In desperation, he invites Sudai to accompany him on his departure. Observing the creature's attempt, Sudai questions whether it really wants to destruct in front of him. Sudai, with a golden glow on his finger, asks what would happen if this seat didn't exist. An imposing golden figure appears behind Sudai, emanating overwhelming power. The serpent, still trapped, wonders what that manifestation is. The serpent, terrified, corrects himself, asking if that is the power of a god. She questions whether she provoked a deity. Trapped by the blue chains and under the banner's skull, the creature begs to be let go. She admits her mistake and calls out to her ancestors. Quickly, the skull atop Sudai's banner moves forward and consumes the greenish soul of the disappearing serpent. A notification appears congratulating the host for defeating an advanced creature. The 10,000 Souls banner has been improved. Another system message appears, informing that the level has risen to the 3rd. Enhanced mode has been unlocked. Sudai displays a confident smile at the news. The system explains that he can feed his undead spiritual power items to increase their level. Holding up his banner, Sudai reflects that he did not expect to directly feed the servants with spiritual stones. He realizes he can create an army quickly. As the banner emits a glow, Sudai decides that finding the spiritual stone has become a priority in his plans. With a determined look, he thinks about waiting until he has enough power to protect himself in this world. Now it's time to find your good waiters. In the destroyed school, Master Li calls for Wonkyu. She questions whether it is dangerous for Sudai to chase the monster, but Wonkyu assures her that he will be fine. Master Li notes Wonkyu's confidence and asks how she knows Sudai. The girl reveals that he saved her from a monster during the chaos. Wonkyu adds that it's a little strange. When he met Lord Sudai, he felt a strange sense of déjà vu. Suddenly, Sudai returns and Wonkyu greets him excitedly. Master Li asks if the monster hurt him in any way. With a tap on Wonkyu's head, Sudai wonders if she underestimates him that much. He asks if she thinks he would get hurt by that. Discreetly, Sudai takes out a small, bright purple stone from his pocket. Showing the purple stone to the two, Sudai asks Master Li if she knows where to get more of this item. The master responds that the stone belonged to her father. She doesn't know exactly where he got it from and suggests Sudai ask him directly. Sudai then questions where her father is. Master Li proposes that if he really wants to find his father, perhaps they need to make a second deal. She reveals that the last time she spoke to her father was 3 days ago. He was trapped somewhere, and to get information, Sudai will have to help her find him. Sudai ponders whether the woman wants to use him to save people. However, he decides that as long as he discovers the whereabouts of the spiritual stone, wasting a little time is not a big problem. Wonkyu is surprised by the decision. With a serious look, he warns that if he finds out that he is being deceived, not only her, but everyone, including his father, will face the consequences. Master Li assures him that she understands and that he doesn't need to worry. She claims that her father will not disappoint him. Then, Master Li calls her classmates, announcing that they will leave with Lord Sudai. Relieved, some comment that they are finally leaving, thinking they would stay there forever. The students thank him emotionally, some even cry with relief. Suddenly, Sudai notices a group of people who could not resist the recent events. Holding up his banner, the necromancer declares that those souls cannot be wasted. With a shout, Sudai summons the souls to join him. The 10,000 Souls banner shines brightly and blue chains emerge from it. The chains quickly wrap around the souls of the fallen, binding them. In an instant, the greenish souls are pulled into the banner, while the survivors watch the scene in amazement. The skull on the banner glows with intense green eyes, emitting a high-pitched sound. A system notification appears. He gained 5 more undead and his control ability reached the maximum 10. Sudai raises the banner. The survivors, including Wonkyu and Master Li, watch the scene in amazement. A student, still shaken, asks Lord Sudai what he did with those souls. Sudai casually rests the banner on his shoulder. He explains that his nature is to make the most of everything. The souls on the banner will become puppets under your control. He then rushes the group, saying he has no time to waste. Walking through the destroyed streets, a student thanks Sudai. Without him, they wouldn't have left the room. Another comments that they would die of hunger anyway. Sudai says not to worry and take what they need. Sudai thinks to himself, his cultivation had reached the foundation, building stage, and his spiritual consciousness had partially recovered. Now he can create better magical weapons. He decides he needs to test this. Facing a blue portal, Sudai hopes to extract something useful. His hand reaches for the portal. Images of magical items like swords and talismans float from within it. His eyes glow blue as he concentrates and says, "Now." A sword appears in his hand. Wonkyu, amazed, asks if this is the work of a god, while Sudai analyzes the item. Wonkyu takes the sword and asks Sudai where he found it. She feels like she has seen this sword before. Observing Wonkyu's reaction, Sudai wonders if this is a sign. Maybe her memories are coming back. Sudai finds the situation interesting. If Wonkyu really recovers his memory, it will be in his hands. He reflects that it would be like a lamb going to the slaughter. Questioning herself, Sudai ponders what her opinion will be about this sword. Sudai then decides to leave the item in Wonkyu's custody. Surprised, the girl asks if he is serious. The girl refuses, asking Lord Sudai why she would need the sword. She even asks if he expects her to deal with the monsters. Masterly questions the reason for the refusal. Sudai responds that Wonkyu cannot expect eternal protection from him. A gleam of understanding appears in Wonkyu's eyes. The young woman gives in and accepts the sword. She comments that she has never used it and asks Sudai to teach her later. His hand then firmly grasps the hilt of the sword. Upon touching the weapon, Wonkyu shows surprise and confusion. Suddenly, a vivid memory floods Wonkyu's mind. In the vision, she desperately screams, "Master, stop!" A male voice echoes, promising to find a way to track and capture shadows in Tuzao. He assures her that from now on, he will be the sword in her hand and will never disappoint her. The vision of the past continues, with the master asking if she still calls him greatest. Back in the present, a visibly shocked Wonkyu stutters, "Master," as Sudai watches.